swear to you, I would be in there preaching to guys like, I'm never going back to that life. I used to have old timers telling me, yo, youngin', stay focused. I'm telling you, it's real easy when you walk out them gates to forget about everything you were preaching in here. There was nobody that was ever gonna tell me that I was gonna end up back in prison.
Jason Abreu, founder of Made Up North NYC. His mission is to raise awareness about incarceration and the process of recidivism that's haunting communities of color and disenfranchised communities all throughout the country. Holy shit, we both got college degrees, and we both went to prison. I didn't fucking expect that.
Yo, Sean, you know when them people knock, them law officials, you just know it's them.
Right.
Here we go. I walk out, I see about, no lie, 10 DEA agents there. Like I'm America's biggest criminal.
Welcome to another episode of the Real Mentors podcast. As always, REAL stands for Real Examples Altering Lives. I'm your host, Sean Martin, and today in studio, I've got an amazing guest for you, Mr. Jason Abreu, founder of Made Up North NYC. His mission is to raise awareness about incarceration and the process of recidivism that's haunting communities of color and disenfranchised communities all throughout the country. Jason, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. As I told you this morning, this is the first time that I'm gonna get to fully share my story. So I'm a bit nervous, but like you told me, I know I'll feel relief after this is done. So again, thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure, man. It is absolutely my pleasure. I mean that from the heart. Before we get into your story, which is an amazing one about triumph, resilience, and just overcoming our worst enemy, which is ourselves.
Definitely.
I want you to tell the audience a little bit about Made Up North and what your mission is with that platform.
Okay, so Made Up North, is a movement, a brand. My purpose, which I found throughout my second incarceration, and our motto is off the count and making it count. So what that basically, is focused on trying to help these individuals coming home from prison to really motivate and encourage them to come home and stay home. I myself fell victim into the whole recidivism trap because I know it's not easy coming home from prison and then coming back out here. Bad enough we already have to deal with the social stigmas, or whatnot, not having enough resources. So, I kind of want to just help these guys and show them that it can be done. You can come out here and you don't have to fall into that trap of recidivism, and of course, also bring awareness and educate our youth because we're living in some times right now where sadly our youth has very little guidance and they're being misguided by what they see on social media, by the people they look up to. So I want to really bring awareness to them about prison life and all the consequences associated with that, with hopes that they never even have to step foot inside a prison. So that's my mission, trying to really lower that, help bring that recidivism percentage, help bring that down, because...
Absolutely. I mean, back when I was growing up, the people that were in the neighborhood that had the cars or that had the clothing and the girls were the drug dealers. So I grew up during the 90s. Crack cocaine was all around us. And those were the guys in the neighborhood that you looked up to because they had money in their pocket. At the time, little did I know that the money that they had was peanuts. The car that they had wasn't that nice, and many of them lived home with their grandmother or their grandfather, or grandmother or their grandparents or their aunts. They didn't even, have their own places or own their own homes. Mm-hmm. And now what we're seeing, I think, is personified because of social media.
Of course.
What these kids are looking up to is not only the people in the neighborhood, but they have this perception that's even more warped and skewed because of social media. So, how do we paint the picture for them and let them know that what they're looking up to or what they're admiring is actually all bullshit? It's smoke and mirrors at the end of the day.
It is, and it goes back to this. What they're seeing and what they're glorifying, one word I'll summarize it, it's temporary. My parents always tell me things that come easy, you lose it easy. But going back to what you say, they see on social media the cars, the money, and they think that's living life. I was also the same way, you know, and I had to actually, you know, go back to prison to really put things into perspective and be like, this is not the way to win, because if I keep coming out and doing the same things as I was doing before, which as we know, that's insanity, doing the same thing and expecting different results, I'm going to keep coming back out here. And I said enough is enough. I have a 14-year-old son that looks up to me, so I have to be a role model for him. I have to be present for my family. And, you know, that's what I'm trying to do with my movement.
Yeah, sending kites home, unfortunately, is not the best form of parenting. So I commend you. You told me a beautiful story about, you know, making it home for your son's birthday one year, and we'll get into that. But I want you to tell the audience a little bit about, you know, where you grew up and your unfortunate run-ins with the law, not once, but twice, I learned this morning.
Yes. Well, yeah, like I told you, I think if you met me back then, growing up, you would never think that prison would never be part of my story, yet alone 2 times. But I've learned to embrace everything that has happened to me and actually be grateful, because everything that has happened to me needed to happen to me so that I can be here sitting with you and being able to share my story, you know, and give this story of hope, of resilience, and let people know that it's never too late to change the narrative, you know? So growing up, I actually, same as you, drug-infested neighborhood. I'm from Uptown, Dykeman. Grew up right there, Dykeman Projects, born and raised. And growing up, did the whole school things. My parents made sure me and my siblings had the best education. Forever grateful for that. But I want to say in my early 20s, my life took a turn. And I wouldn't say, you know, for the right. It took a turn for the left. At the time, I was working at this law firm. I had lost my job. And, you know, I was still looking for work out there. And someone proposed to me like, hey, listen, you know a lot of people and you like going out. Why don't you give promoting a shot? I'm like, you know what? Doesn't sound like a bad idea. So I go and create my whole entertainment. You know, once in my lifetime, I used to identify myself as this character. A lot of people got to meet him. Jason, I party hard. And when I tell you I really lived up to that name, I party hard, everyone that got to party with me could attest to this. You know, I really party hard. So it's like back then, you know, I'm in my 20s. I'm looking at it like I'm living life. Right. I'm partying. I'm making money while I'm partying, drinking, the girls. But looking back at that now, I'm able to see that I was actually setting myself up for failure. Because though those times will always be a part of me, unforgettable, is when, you know, a lot of devastating things, you know, happened to me. And I had not one, not two, several interventions where God was trying to talk to me like, listen, man, I'm giving you chances. You really need to get your shit together and change. But it goes back to what I've always say, you know, on my page, whenever I post videos, I always say, like, change is something that has to come within. Right. You know, no one can make no one change. And you would have thought that after certain things happened to me, I would have changed. And it's like, as one thing happened, I was off to the races. I just kept, you know, getting more involved.
You had that invincibility feeling, I would imagine, that most 20-year-old men have.
Absolutely.
The way we drive, the way we live life, the way we drink, the way we party, the way we attack anything at that age, which is reckless.
Absolutely.
Now we have kids that we worry about them because we know they're going to cross that age at some point, and we're going to try to teach them all the things that we don't do. So you grew up in the Heights. You're an entertainment promoter.
Yes.
So you're a party promoter for the most part. Where do you know, I guess, where does your life take a turn where you actually end up, you know, committing crime or doing something that lands you in prison? And what's the lead up? Because I want people to see that even when you have good parents and you're doing the right thing, and that was the crazy part, my story's so similar to yours, more similar than I ever thought. Me and you had breakfast this morning, and I was like, holy shit, we both got college degrees, and we both went to prison. I didn't fucking expect that.
It wasn't like part of our plan, you know? But it had to happen so we could be here, you know?
Exactly. So, you know, we are the messengers now for what I like to say is the streets are sexy. And when you grow up in the streets, even if you're on the outskirts of the streets and you're the dude that went to college, you still got one foot in the street because that's what you know, that's what you grew up around.
Yeah.
But you had enough parental guidance that you finished college, you went to school, you had a decent job, but then you lost that job, you get into the party promoting, which I also had a history of doing in my young 20s. So again, the similarities are scary. And then you're in a different world. You're in a nightlife world. You're in a world full of fog and drugs and alcohol. And things start to take a turn for the worse, as you said.
Exactly.
So, you know, what's that look like? What are some of the things you're doing in your life? What are some of the things you shouldn't be doing in your life at that point before things go south?
Well, being in that nightlife scene, in that atmosphere, I got introduced to things that I never knew of before, met people, and it's like one thing just led to another. I went from just being a social drinker to now, because I'm doing these events, 4 or 5 events a week, I'm finding myself drinking 4 or 5 times a week. So God forbid anyone tells me, you know, my girl, anyone, you have a drinking problem. I'm not trying to hear that. I'm just thinking like, I'm just having a drink socially. I'm doing a party.
Just popping a bottle
yeah,
socially.
Yeah, you know.
3 times a week.
Exactly. You know, but after the drinking, then came the pills.
Right.
And other drugs or whatnot. So the first kind of intervention I had was of March of 2014, leaving one of my parties. You know, I was the type, like I said, I party hard. My party will finish and I'm already thinking, we going to the after hours. So I'm leaving one of my parties, one of my events, and I'm in a car. I'm not driving, I'm the passenger. I end up getting into a car accident. I wake up in the hospital, it turns out my hip is broken. So I'm on crutches for like 90 days. You would think it's gonna slow me up, but it didn't. I was out there standing on couches with my crutches. I party hard, you know, living up to my name. Like, it goes back to the whole invincibility mentality. I'm like, man, this ain't nothing. This was March 2014. Fast forward the tape a few months later, something very drastic that, you know, took a lot on me and my loved ones. November 8th, I end up getting shot. I'm in a coma. They had to bring me back to life. I died while I was in the hospital. You know, again, a day that I had one of my parties going, my girl, I was with her all day. She even told me, because we were sleeping, like, babe, you sure you have to go? Like, just stay home. But me, you know, just thinking about, yeah, work. I got to go work the party. But, you know, bullshit. I'm thinking about, yeah, I'm going to work, but I'm going to go have fun too. I'll be back later. Go to my party. Again, let's go to the after hours. I go to the after hours. I go get breakfast. At this time, it's already 6 in the morning. So my girl's calling me nonstop, like, where are you at? Where are you at? You know, I'm trying to give her the runaround. Babe, I'll be there 5 minutes. I pull up to the house, you know, Sean, where she was living at the moment, right there on 158 in Edgecombe, not too far from Dykeman. As I'm getting out the cab, you know, because since I'm drunk, I'm really not paying attention to my surroundings. I hear, pa, pa. I'm like, damn, they fireworks in November?
6 in the morning?
Yeah. It really didn't sound loud. I see the garbage man picking up the garbage already. I ain't thinking nothing of it. I get to the front of the door, but now I start hearing bullets ricocheting off the wall, like literally boom, through my ear. I'm like, what? So I happen to turn around and I see an individual like 10 feet away from me with a hoodie on, just taking shots at me. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why this is coming from at the moment. All I know, I'm banging the door like, babe, let me in. She finally, you know, comes running, opens the door. As I'm going to get, you know, finally walking through that door, bah, I end up getting shot in my lower back. I fall to the ground immediately. This is something, you know, big for me.
Take a second, my brother. You know, I know this isn't easy.
So that happens. I'm on the floor, and by the graces of God, which till today I still got to go back to that building to see if that lady lives there, to thank her, because truth be told, with the help of God, my guardian angels, that lady had a lot to do with saving my life, because who knows if the individual shooting at me, I was dead. I was in a corner in a dead end. If he wanted to, you know, come up close and just really finish the job, a lady on the 3rd floor, Sean, opens the window and yells out and says, "Hey, are you all right? You want me to call an ambulance?"
Wow.
And right then and there, the individual left. At this point, I don't know what's going on. I'm just, spitting to see if I see blood. I know I'm burning inside, like I was burning like an oven, Sean?
Right.
The paramedics show up. It's about now 8 in the morning. I wake up 5, 6 in the evening. They just finished doing 10-hour surgeries to repair all my organs. I had internal bleeding. I wake up with a whole bunch of tubes. I wake up briefly for some time. They tell me that they gotta have to do surgery again. They prep me up for another 8-hour surgery. Now, when I wake up, I see my parents there, my girl, and all of a sudden, it's like all I remember, I left. And I just remember seeing this light. A few minutes pass by, and and I wake back up, and the doctors tell me, "Hey, man, you took a little lap. You left us." At this point, they're telling me this because they don't want to freak me out. And then the next day, when my parents came to visit me, they told me that I had died in front of them,
Wow.
And they actually had to resuscitate me and shock my chest to bring me back to life. And you would have thought that this situation was gonna slow my ass down, and I was really gonna, walk away from that whole nightlife scene and be like, you know what, I'm done with this, and hang it up. And it's like the situation just put me on overdrive. After they took off all the equipment, after my stomach closed, after I healed, I was back to Jason, I party hard. Just moving reckless, not a care in the world. I was thinking I was invincible. And the signs were there. God will give you the signs, and you have to really jump on them, because one thing I always say is God will give you chances. And he's not gonna give up on you, but after a while, you can't keep playing with God. He's not gonna like that. So this happens. I get through this ordeal. Fast forward the tape. October 2015 was my first run-in with the law. I ended up getting arrested. In that whole scene, I had met people as I was, taking pills, using pills. I also knew people that wanted pills or whatnot. Right. So how it is, start doing a little thing here and there. It turns out a girl that I had met through one of my friends, she was undercover. I ended up getting caught up with that. And 2-3 weeks, I bail out. Again, I'm back to Jason, I party hard. Can't nobody tell me nothing. I'm out a few months. 6 months later, May 2016, I'm in a car, with one of my close friends, a brother of mine, and another individual, and we're on our way, regular, smoking, run a few errands. We end up getting caught up. Cops come. It turns out, we get arrested. Individual we was with, was doing something that we wasn't even aware of. We all go down for it, and ain't nobody gonna be pointing the fingers, It's like, that's it. We all arrested. We're gonna hold it down, those are the morals, the principles, the values that I stand on, that we stand on. So I end up copping out my first sentence, 4 years. That was in June 2016. One of the hardest things I ever did, Sean, having to get sentenced with my parents in that courtroom. When I look back, I felt like such a failure, man. Like I let them down. Like, this is not the upbringing they gave me or my siblings. Man. They busted their ass to make sure we got a great education. And I felt like this is how I repay them. But at this time, this is what I had signed up for. So I had to go away and do my time. So I go, I'm doing my time. My girl, of course, she's been very supportive, holding me down throughout the whole situation. Now, this time, my first time being incarcerated, I've always liked working out. So I make it my business, like, I'm going to focus, do my time, working out, but I'm really going to learn the whole aspect of it, reading books. I'm going to master this. So I make it about that. I end up coming home March 27, 2019, and I swear to you, I would be in there preaching to God, like, I'm never going back to that life. I'm never going to go back to the bullshit. And believe me when I tell you, I used to have old timers telling me, yo, youngin', stay focused. I'm telling you, it's real easy when you walk out them gates to forget about everything. You were preaching in here, and there was nobody. I felt like so, focused and committed on this that there was nobody that was ever gonna tell me that I was gonna end up back in prison. So now I'm home. I'm on parole. 2019, COVID had just hit. Tough times. I'm not working, trying to make ends meet or whatnot. So I'm like, you're going to go back to things that what to do. So I started engaging in these activities that I was engaging before and associating myself with peoples from that world again, knowing damn well that this is excuse my language, the shit that got me jammed up and led to prison. But I'm not thinking nothing of it. So 17 months passed, October 1st, and it's funny because that same day, I had gotten a text from one of my close friends who had told me, yo, Jay, what's up with you? I don't see you around. You don't be out. And I had responded to him, nah, man, I'm good. I'm just home with my girl, with my son. Just want to really be out the way. Like, I was already seeing the signs, and it goes back to what I said. When you see those signs, jump on them, because if not, it's going to be too late. I had just texted my friend this, like, listen, I'm home because I'm trying to stay away and avoid the bullshit. Well, guess what? That same day, few hours later, about 1 a.m, I'm in bed with my girl watching Netflix, and we start hearing the buzzer from downstairs. Yo, Sean, when them people knock, the boys, them law officials, you just know it's them.
Right.
So I'm in bed with my girl, and I hear zzz, zzz, zzz. I don't even want to get up. I'm like, babe, go check. So she goes, checks the phone. It has a camera so we can see who's downstairs. She comes running to the bedroom, frantic, like, babe, there's like 8, 10, like cops downstairs or something. So I'm like, what? So they run up. I'm still in the room. She goes, she opens the door. So I'm hearing them question her like, is Jason Abreu here or whatnot? So I'm like, you know what? It's time to face the music. Here we go. I walk out the bedroom. I see about, no lie, 10 DEA agents there with the plaques and everything. So at this point, I'm already like, my heart just dropped. I don't know what's going on. I don't have, too much sense of what's happening. They just simply say, are you Jason Abreu? I'm like, yeah, I'm him. They like, well, we have a warrant for your arrest. I'm like, a warrant? Well, with all due respect, can I ask, why am I being arrested? So this officer looks at me dead in the face and says, you know why? Conspiracy. You deal drugs. Yo, listen, Sean, I heard that word conspiracy followed by you deal drugs, and I'm looking at 10 guys with these DEA plaques. Like, I remember looking at my girl as she's bawling, crying there when they're all there surrounding me, cuffing me. I'm like, what is this? Like, the way they came to get me, you would have thought I was at Chapo. Like I was doing some major shit, know?
Right.
So, and I have no clarity as to what's going on. My poor girl's telling them, like, please, let me put his sneakers on before you take him. They wasn't trying to hear that. Never. They took me out of there in PJs and in sandals October 1st. So it was already kind of chilly. So now they bring me down.
If you don't mind, what are you feeling at that moment? Because that's got to be disheartening. I mean, you see them at the door, she lets them in. Is part of you still thinking you can work your way out of this? Because I remember that feeling, or you just...
Nah.
It's over.
I mean, as soon as they said that, I didn't really have to know the full details yet.
Right.
But I knew that I already had a prior, so I knew this wasn't going to end up good.
Right.
And I just remember looking at my girl and seeing her crying, and I felt like I really let her down, man. I felt like such a failure, and I remember thinking like, damn, so this is how it's going to end? When am I going to see my girl again? My son, my family. I didn't know what was happening, Sean?
Right.
So they bring me down, these 10 DEA agents. Now we're in a van, and again, they're escorting me like traffic, blocking off traffic, like if I'm America's biggest criminal. I'm like, really? So now, as I'm taking this ride, it's like I'm holding my breath because I'm scared shitless. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if this is state. I don't know if this is federal.
Right.
I start retracting my steps, shit I did during the day, shit I did during the week, during the summer. I'm like I don't know where it's coming from. So we end up pulling up to this precinct in the Bronx by Kingsbridge. So as I walk in now, I start breathing a little bit better because at least I have the clarity to know that it's state.
Right.
It's not federal. And I think it's safe to say that you're going to probably get a way better outcome when your situation is state versus federal. So again, I still don't know the details of it. So they walk me into the back, Sean, and at this point, I see some other guys in the bullpen, two of them, my co-defendants, which I know, and about two other guys, which I didn't know at all, because that's how these conspiracy cases work.
Right.
And this is something important for these people to know out there, especially coming out of prison, how easy it is to get caught up into someone else's bullshit simply by a phone call, because that's how conspiracy is. You don't got to get found. They don't need to catch you with no drugs, with no nothing. As long as they could prove that you were trying, to commit a crime. Exactly, you hit. But again, I really don't know, Sean, the full details. So I'm there, and I'm just thinking like, damn, this can't be good. They go and fingerprint one of my co-defendants, this kid Mike from the Bronx, and he comes back, and I remember asking him, I'm like, yo, what's up? You ain't getting no info? He's like, I don't know, party. That's what, that's how I went. I used to go by. He's like, I really don't know, party, but the only thing he told me while he was fingerprinting me is that this is a drug indictment. So little by little, I'm getting some more, clarity, whatever. Hours pass. One of the arresting officers is like, y'all guys have a phone number so we could call? I give him my girl's number. He comes back like 20 minutes later, giving everybody an update. Oh, I spoke to such and such on your behalf. I spoke to such and such on your behalf. Now he comes to me. He's like, listen, I spoke to your girl. And I remember saying, how is she? How she's doing? He's like, she was losing it, man. I'm not going to lie. She was bawling, crying. She has an appointment today, a doctor's appointment. She's talking about wanting to meet you at the court, meet us at the court in the Bronx. This case was in the Bronx. We was going to the Bronx criminal courthouse, right?
161st.
And he's like, but I told her not to come because we're in the middle of a pandemic, COVID. The course is technically closed, so whatever.
They're doing all virtual at this time.
Yeah, exactly. Everything virtual. We wake up in the morning. The officers now, they're like, come on, let's get you guys to court because, because of COVID and the whole bail reform thing, judges is just, releasing guys. You might get home today. So me, I'm like, yeah, let me get my hopes up, knowing damn well the odds of that happening with a prior, Sean.
Yeah, but you're a glass half full guy like me.
Yeah,
so
man.
You're always gonna hope for the best.
Yeah, always.
And prepare for the worst.
So we get to the courthouse, me and my co-defendants. We there sitting in the back. They call one of my co-defendants up, whatever, they read the charges. Now they call me up, and I'm up there in PJs, sandals.
John Class.
Yeah, my poor lawyer, appointed at the time, he's over here trying to get me some type of bail so I could get home. He's using the whole COVID card. He's trying to tell the
now, there's a public defender, right?
Yeah, of course, because, at the moment when you see the judge at first, they just put me a public defender until I got, retain my lawyer. So I'm there, but, this public defender is fighting for me. He's like, I'm going to try to get you some type of bail to get you out of here. Like, again, like you said, got to hope for the best, right? But I know I'm still on parole. But I'm like, you know what? Let me keep my fingers crossed. It is COVID. Maybe they're going to let me go. So as he's arguing for this bail for me, Sean, the prosecutor right away interjects immediately. No, Your Honor. We cannot give this man no type of bail. We cannot let him go on no ROR because besides the fact that he's already on parole, we also not only observed him, but have him on surveillance that on such and such date at this time, he threw a narcotic substance inside the trunk of an undercover.
Oh, man.
Yo, Sean, when I heard that, never in my life have I felt so betrayed. That shit hit home, bro. Never in my life have I felt so betrayed. Because, you and I know 1 + 1 is 2,
Right.
and the sky is blue. So it's simple. At this point, I have full clarity where this was coming out of.
So somebody in your camp sold you out.
Oh, yes, someone who I've known for over 12 years, someone close to me, someone I consider a real, genuine friend, someone who knew I had just came home not too long ago, and someone who I knew was caught up in his own legal issues. A big case at that, But never in a million years would I imagine him knowing I just came home and knowing that when he came to meet up with me to tell me about his case that he bailed out, I looked at this man in his eyes and told him, listen, the only thing that you cannot count on me when you go do your time is to visit you, because unfortunately I'm on parole. Right. But I know what it is to be in that place and people forget about you. I'm not going to forget about you. I'm going to write you. I'm going to send you packages. I'm going to check in on your family, and I'm going to hold you down. I'm going to be there for you because I know what it is to go through that and not have no one be at your side. All of this, I told them, all of this, right?
This is prior to all this going down,
This was
right?
prior.
When he had already his own legal.
Yeah, he had his own legal, big case at that. I'm talking about major trafficking charges, When he bailed out, he came to speak to me, explain to it. I never would have thought that someone, but you know what they say? What they say about betrayal? It usually comes from those closest to you, right?
Absolutely.
So at this point, when I hear this, Sean, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm thinking in my head, like, they're saying I threw a narcotic substance inside the trunk of an undercover. I ain't even know this man in the car. That was this kid, this individual that's supposed to be my friend. That was his lick, his setup, his sale, however you wanna describe it. He set that whole thing up. So I'm looking around the courthouse at my other co-defendants, and they know already what's going on. We like, why he's not here with us? Technically, he orchestrated the whole sale. That was his situation that he put together. Why he's not here? Right. And this is not about me trying to throw Sean shade on him, right, or me saying my story because I want anybody to feel pity or sympathy for me. Nah, this is about me trying to bring awareness and educate these people out there, these guys coming home, and the youth, like we just said this morning, the streets is a myth. The streets is dead. Right. People are not going to think twice to do it to you, to throw you in the middle.
There's no loyalty when it comes choosing between your own survival and someone else's. It's just human nature to choose your own survival over someone else's. And, I hear you get emotional when you talk about this. So I commend you and thank you for sharing this for the first time because it's so powerful. Because young people out there who may be hearing this need to know that there is no loyalty when it comes to that. It's few and far between. And we talked about the whole omerta, that's an old Italian mobster belief system that was even shattered, 50 years ago, 40 years ago when people started ratting left and right. So in our particular, environment, it's even less prevalent in terms of holding shit down and not telling. So, you're caught up here, but I want to take the time to ask you where you stand with that now, because if you decide to forgive and move on, you free yourself. If you decide to hold on to the animosity and that anger, you retain that feeling of betrayal. You're still trapped in that story, in that cycle. Where are you with that today in terms of that person, whoever they are, having thrown you under the bus to save their own skin?
Well, what you just said, it goes back to survival of the fittest. This is like, I used to get pissed at my girl because that's how she would want me to see things. Like, you got to understand though, babe, that's people, everyone's not you. People don't have the same morals, values, and principles nowadays. People's going to look out for them and theirs. So at first, there was nothing that nobody could tell me. But now where I stand with it, I'm at peace, Sean. I forgave that individual. I hold no resentment. So, as messed up as this situation was, there was something positive that came out of it. Two things, actually, which is the fact that I was able to forgive and let go of that resentment, which is something I knew I had to do, because if not, I probably would have not been able to be sitting here with you. you know, having this conversation and actually be out here to fulfill my purpose, my mission, which is this, Made Up North, you know, which we're going to get into that shortly. But I'm at peace. I have no resentment because I told myself I could come back out here, keep that as a resentment, but that's just only going to hinder my growth.
Let's put the lens on your girl, who has now been with you for how many years?
Oh man, she's a rider, man. I want to say about 12 years, going on 13. Like true definition of
ride or die, man.
Ride or die, man.
I got one too. 17 years. I was telling you before we started rolling, and she was with me through my bed. And you know, over the years, I haven't been the best husband, man, father, everything, but she just kept riding with me. And it's been invaluable because without having that to come home to, you may not have realized it, but your life will be completely different. So it's Valentine's Day while we're shooting this. I want to shout out all the ride or dies. I want to send them their flowers to your girl, to my wife, just because your stick-with-itness, your wherewithal to stay with your man is what has given him hope and also given him the time to mature into the man that he was supposed to be all along. But it took us a very long time and a lot of fucking fuck-ups and bumps and bruises to get to that point. And we're still learning and we're still growing. So shout out to all the ride or dies out there.
Definitely.
You know, it's a point of contention because if you ask their girlfriends, they're probably like, bitch, you crazy? Why are you standing by this motherfucker? Let him go. He's no good. But there are exceptions to that, and you're one of them. So let's talk about Made Up North and, you know, what that is right now and where you want to take that, because I was connected with you immediately because of the mission, because of the fact that I've experienced that. I want to share that. I want you to share your story because I know how freeing that is for you.
Yeah.
And without you being able to share that story and having the support of a good woman, you're not able to become the man that God intended for you to be. So all these fuck-ups that you've been through have led you to Made Up North. What do you see in the future for Made Up North, and how can we help impact not only youth, but just people that are going through it? Because like you said, it's never too late to change your life.
Definitely. It's never too late. Made Up North is something that's definitely going to be around for a while. It's my mission, my purpose. I have a lot of things in the works. I have my platform, my page, which I always, through there, always try to post some motivating videos and, you know, just kind of videos to remind people coming home from prison. They might wake up someday, you know, being ready to make an emotional decision that might lead them back to that place. So I try to throw things out there in my videos, like, to remind them, like, listen, whatever you do, you can't go back to that. Right. Life might be hard, but it's harder in there, you know? And just to, before I even get into a few things that I'm working on with the whole Made Up North, with my whole Made Up North movement and brand, Sean, just so you could get an idea how this whole vision came to me about. So now this situation, like I was telling you, happened in the court.
Right.
No bail. I get remanded, get sent straight to Rikers. The worst of the worst time. It was during COVID. Man, everybody on the island was sick. Officers dying, inmates dying. They weren't even taking us out to rec. I remember going to different houses trying to get a bed, and like they were jam-packed, man. It was terrible. So I'm there 10 months. Fast forward the tape, my lawyer, Anthony Straza, forever grateful to him. He's able to get me to cop out to the lower charge of the indictment in June of 2021. So at this time, I already had 10 months in, and you know, I cop out to 3 years. And I remember one thing when he tells me, "Well, this is the offer that I got you, and oh yeah, they want you to sign the shock waiver because they want to get time out of you. You know, right. I'm gonna tell you what it is. But hey, listen, 3 years is not bad. I know I'm not in no position to tell you this because I'm not the one that's going to do the time. This is my lawyer telling me this. He's like, but never forget that there's still light at the end of the tunnel. I remember him telling me this, and I never forgot. I went in, I continued to do my time with this, Sean, in the back of my head. So then, this was in June. The very next month, I end up getting moved. Because, once you cop out and you get sentenced, your next stop is Ulster for reception. We're there. You stay there some time.
Couple months.
Yeah. Sometimes exactly.
Less, yeah.
Sometimes weeks, depends, But this is reception, and then you get put on a draft, and you end up going, to your next destination. So I cop out. I was actually on the phone with my girl on a phone call in Rikers when she told me, oh, your lawyer's calling you now. So she connected the call, and he told me, listen, I was able to get you this deal, but you have to get it today. You have to take it today. You have to cop out, and then we'll move forward. So I'm over here telling my girl, well, babe, 3 flat, non-violent, I already got 10 months in. I'll go up for, 2-3 more months, get a program, and I'll come back home. It's not that bad. Now, when I'm in Ulster, Sean, they call me up for mail 2 days after being there. I'm like, who's writing to me? A lot of people don't even know that I got moved already, with the exception of my girl and my family. And I end up opening up this letter, and sure enough, it's a letter from Albany, central office, a time calculation sheet. And I just remember opening this up and looking at a whole bunch of numbers. And this is important for the listeners to hear this, because some of them might not know exactly how this works.
Right.
And it goes back to what my parents always used to tell me. Mi hijo, it's very easy to get into the system, but very hard to get out the system. Yeah. And I had to learn the hard way. So I want to share this so the guys out there listening, the people out there can know what ends up happening if you do come home and you reoffend while you're on parole. The state is going to want their time. Every single day of your time, they're going to want. Sean?
So to spell it out, if you go up, I think it's 80, 85 you got to do? 80% of your time? Or 85? Correct. I forget. It's been a long time. It's not shit I want to remember.
Of course.
But, for instance, mine was 2 and I had to do 20 months.
Correct.
All right? If you come home and you're on parole and you violate or you get caught up again, that extra 4 months, that extra 20% that they let you out, they want that back. And it sounds so transactional, right? Because it's your fucking life. It's time. It's stuff you'll never get back. But that's what it is once you're in that system. I still remember, I told you this morning, one of the corrections officers, when I was at Ulster, gave me some book recommendations. He was a personable guy. So, how long do you got? I said 2 and 2. He goes, matter of factly, so we got you for 4. People have never been coming back at the same rate that they are right now. And that's the importance, and that's why I have you here, is because I want to keep people from ever being in the system. Because once they got you, you're at their mercy.
Of course.
Your freedom is not your freedom. Yeah. You can't be out past a certain time. You can't associate with certain people. You may not even be able to drink alcohol as part of your release. So the good times are over. And you may think, just this one time, and then they knock on your door, piss test you, and it's all over.
Exactly.
So the best remedy for this is just to never be in the system.
Yeah.
So now they want that time back, which is significant. What is it, 14 months, right?
14 months.
That you came home early.
Yeah, 14 months.
So how does that play out with the new time you have, the 3 flat?
So now that 3 flat, Sean, ends up becoming 4.5, almost 5 flat. So I'm looking at this, now I'm back to holding my breath. I'm sick to my stomach. I'm like, damn. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't ready to share this news with my girl at the time. Because I was just getting hopes up.
You're selling her, babe, I'll be home in no time.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to share this with her. But you know what? I remember getting that letter, and I remember going back to my cube that day, and I had a conversation with God. Because even though they added those 14 months, I was still within that range to qualify for work release. To qualify for work release, you got to be within 24 months to your earliest release. So I told God, listen, God, Heavenly Father, I know you giving me a lot of chances, and you still haven't given up on me. But I promise, you get me home somehow, some way, before my son's birthday. I just missed his birthday while I was in Rikers, not to mention the other birthdays I missed from my previous incarceration. I'm like, you get me home, I promise you, I'm ready this time. I'm going to go do this bid, put things into perspectives, and really unlock my full potential, you know? And that's, you know, what happened. They ended up moving me to Wyoming. And like I said, the first bid, I was like, let me focus more on the physical aspect. This time I said, I'm going to focus on my mental and really, you know, unlock my full potential. And in doing so, I found my purpose, which is Made Up North. I was up north when this came to me, hence why the name Made Up North, you know, Sean. And I'm like, as I'm getting moved to the next facility, I leave Ulster. I'm in Ulster, and I'm seeing similar faces, though, before I leave. Before I end up leaving Ulster, I'm recognizing faces of guys I was with incarcerated the first time. So now my thinking cap is on. I'm like, wow, like this is kind of a problem. So as I'm in transit, I'm hearing guys from the bullpen screaming to each other, yeah, man, I'm on a new one. I caught a new case. I'm on a parole violation. I'm like, wow. And every spot that I stopped at, Sean, I was hearing this more and more. And then I got acquainted with recidivism, which is what myself and millions of people getting released from prison fall victim of. And, you know, people hear recidivism and they know it's a problem, but I don't think they really know the severity of this problem. Right. So I like to speak with numbers, you know, Sean. So I'm going to just give you some quick statistics.
Please.
Right now, the recidivism rate in New York State is 43%. It is said that 43% of individuals released from prison will reoffend within the first 3 years and go back to prison. And if you even want to take it further, in the whole United States, the recidivism rate is 44%, which is one of the highest. 44% of individuals released in the whole United States prison system, 44% will reoffend within that first year. And what really hit home, and I said, I need to step up and do something about this, which is how I found my mission, my purpose. The majority of these individuals shouting, I'm on a new one. I'm on parole violation.
Like the shit is normal.
They were minorities, Sean.
Of course.
African Americans, Latinos.
What's crazy, you mentioned that, when you go up north, it's like 75% people of color.
Yeah.
And I know damn well that's not the makeup of the state, but it is heavily skewed black and brown.
Yeah.
The system is not in our favor. You know, there's so many factors. Again, we're not playing the blame game. We're playing the numbers game here, and these are facts. So there's reasons for that. Poverty, lack of education, lack of leaders, mentors, people like yourself that have fucked up but come back and say, you know what, I'm going to make whatever difference that I can to keep the next generation from making the mistakes that I made. But yeah, I was taken aback by the fact that when you get up there, you don't realize how few white faces are up there. And I'm like, I know white people commit fucking crime too, but it's like we get thrown up and just forgotten about. I mean, another thing to be said, during the 90s, when crack cocaine and I grew up, there were more prisons built in this country and more people locked up in the United States of America than at any point in the history of not the country, the world.
Wow.
The history of the world. There's never been more people locked up than during the 90s. Pataki was the governor at the time, and they were just building all those facilities, those cookie cutters that look the same. It's insane. And it's a problem. And for those people who think that locking people up is the solution, you know, particularly people that live in safer environments that I'm blessed enough to live in and don't understand the discussion intelligently, they just want to keep safe streets. I get that. But your tax dollars can be better spent. It's like back when I was away, it was like 30 grand a year to keep somebody incarcerated in the state. It's got to be higher now because everything's higher. It's got to be $40,000+ a year
absolutely.
to keep somebody in prison.
Exactly.
And yes, there are people that need to be in prison, deserve to be in prison, and should stay in prison because they're fucking dangerous. But there's a lot of people, and I would even dare to say a good percentage. I don't want to throw my fucking foot in my mouth, but I want to say, 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50% of the people that are locked up can be helped through programs and education and social programs. But it's just not the solution that government looks to.
Exactly.
We're already in the story of it's easier to lock you up. I don't know if you're familiar with gerrymandering, but all of these, these prisons are in very low populated sections of upstate New York,
Yeah.
And those bodies that are in prison get to be counted as constituency in that county, which gives that county more power in the halls of government. So it'll give that small county, which otherwise doesn't have that many people, those extra bodies to have a little more influence or a little more money coming to the town. Plus it provides jobs. Plus it provides all kinds of ancillary, monetary incentives.
Yeah.
So it is a system that if you've been in it, you like to think is broken. And if you're ignorant about it, you just don't think about it at all. But I think it's a great discussion to have because it's easy to just lock someone up and throw away the key and say that person's an animal. Mm-hmm. But when you treat someone as an animal, guess what? It's more likely that they're gonna fucking respond like an animal.
Of course.
So, even in Canada, they try to rehab you. And again, I'm not saying I have the solution. I'm just saying there's gotta be a better fucking way.
Yeah.
And I think your numbers and the recidivism rates and the fact that we're spending so much money on this points to the fact that there's another way. And I can't wait to see, what you're able to do or what we're able to do, not only to raise awareness, but what I really get excited about with you is you're just starting on the journey and I'm just starting on my own journey, but let's see how we can collaborate and bring good people together, people in government, people that are starting in government, younger people that know what the problem is because their uncles, their aunts, their fucking cousins are getting locked up and they're tired of seeing it. And it's been repeated for generations already. But there's a better way, man. These people could be great members of society. They could be tax-paying members of society. They could be the people doing the jobs that, you necessarily don't want to do. There's all kinds of fucking solutions, but we're just not looking at it.
Of course.
If you lock us up and throw away the key, it's much easier to live like that and not have to think about it. So I commend you for your bravery of coming on today. I want to also talk about your off the count and making it count.
Yeah.
So tell the audience what off the count means exactly. And obviously we want to make it count, so that's obvious. But tell us what off the count means for anybody who might not know.
So yeah, like going back to what you just said, Sean, the system, pretty much does little to nothing to really make that crossover from prison to society. They don't really invest in programs like that. And it's like you said, they give us a bus ticket, $35, and it's like, see ya, and they do that with the intentions like, hope you, it's not like, see ya, don't come back. It's like, see ya, please come back, because they know as long as we keep reoffending, it's a job security for them, right? So now when I was in Wyoming, came up with the name, Made Up North, I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do. If people's not gonna do much about it, I know me as a person, like we gotta be honest, Sean, I'm not gonna single-handedly end the whole recidivism problem. I'm not gonna bring an end to this. But I damn sure know that as one person, I can help change the world for one person. And it's been proven through messages I've, like you said, I'm just getting started. And I get messages all the time, people letting me know how much they appreciate what I'm doing and how they were just thinking something irrational and somehow they came across one of my video and then put them back on track. So I said, I'm going to go out there, create this page, this movement, Made Up North, and I'm just going to be putting out information out there that's going to be helpful to these guys. And I know you said, what else am I doing on that end? I'm actually, first time I'm going to announce this on your show. Thank you for allowing me to announce this. The opportunity again, Sean. I'm working on a book, which will be released sometime this at the ending of the year. Title is Made Up North, Off the Count, a blueprint to successful reentry and overcoming adversity.
Nice.
So that's one of my projects. I'm also have hopes of getting my nonprofit set up also, with the help of my girl, of course, because...
Well, I got some resources for you too. Hopefully some people that have been doing it for years, and I'll be happy to share that with you. As far as the book, let's talk about that off camera, but how powerful of a resource would it be to actually get somebody to fund putting as many of those in every fucking prison library that we can.
Of course, that's the goal.
And giving the inmates the resources in one place that they're unaware of. Certificate of relief from disabilities. I remember, funny story, my parole officer, she got a letter from my certificate of release from disabilities. And she was like, you're the first person that I've ever gotten this letter from. And for anybody who doesn't know, it's basically my right to vote again and become a normal member of society once I'm off paper, once I'm off parole. And it was sad to hear, looking back, that I was the only person that this veteran parole officer had ever seen get that.
Yeah.
And it was something that I found on my own through conversation and, hitting the library, and one of the OGs told me about it, and I filled out. And it's not fucking hard. I even ran into somebody at the barbershop next to my barber, and he has a felony. And he's like, yeah, but you can't vote. And I said, nah, you can.
Yeah.
And people just aren't aware of it.
Yeah, that's one of
so there are tools to redeem yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the mission that you're on. So
And just to with the whole off the count thing, so got the name, Sean, and now this is the model of my movement. You've been in the system, Sean, so one of the most important functions of any prison is what's called the count. That takes place about 5-6 times a day. You hear the officers on the count, and when they yell that, you got to go to your respective area, whether it's a cell or a cube, and just stand there and be quiet while they, count all the inmates. Then they call Albany to make sure all the inmates is accounted for. Now, here's the thing. When you're going home, when you're getting released, the officer has to call the main office and be, such and such inmate Abreu, inmate Martin, they're leaving today. So they're no longer, on the count. Hence why I came up with the name, to really try to empower these guys coming home and we off the count, but now this is your stage. Make it count. Right. And I'm saying make it count not only by, what you do every day, but most importantly, make it count by staying home, man. Don't allow yourself to go back to that place, because as you and I both know, that's one of the lowest, most degrading places that anyone could ever step foot in, Sean.
It is. And you know what? I was blessed enough early on to frame it in my own mind that this is the best thing that ever happened to me. I was lying to myself like a motherfucker because I was in a hole. I was like, this is the best thing. It's going to turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. And by saying those words, it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me.
Same here.
So no matter what you may be up on, you have the power to frame this negative and make it a positive. There's people that are doing life in prison who have found a way to make it count, to make their lives better. But it was a choice that they made, and it's a choice that you made. It's a choice that I made. Unfortunately, so many people have a problem with that because they choose to blame anything and everyone before taking full responsibility for their own actions and what landed them there. Some of the programming that we go through up there, like ART, that actually taught me the emotional intelligence that I have now that I was completely devoid of before going in. Yeah. I didn't have emotional intelligence. I would just be frustrated, resentful, and go straight to anger.
Yeah.
I didn't understand there was like layers to the motherfucker, like onions. You gotta peel away. You didn't get what you want, so you had some disappointment and resentment, and then you were frustrated, so that led to anger and you lashing out.
Write down what triggered you or what.
Correct.
Yeah.
But so many people go through the program and they don't pay any fucking mind to it.
I was guilty of that.
Yeah.
I was guilty of that.
The first time.
The first time, yeah. I was trying to, you know how they say, fake it till you make it? Yeah, of course. You could fake it till you make it. But one thing I learned eventually, that shit'll catch up to you, man. I went to KSAT the first time incarcerated. So I'm just moving, weaving through the program. I'm doing the assignments. I'm participating. The counselor's like, wow, he's one of the best guys we have in the program. So whatever. I didn't work it. Second time when, I ended up back in the program, which I actually ended up with the same counselor I had before, which I was embarrassed to even have to see him. But you know what? Like you said, I let go of shame and guilt. I just let it all out. And I said, I already had this conversation with God. I was able to put my whole life into perspective and know what I want to do and what I don't want to do anymore. So I'm really, really going to work, this program. And it's funny because the week before I was getting ready to get transferred to the work release facility, Sean, my counselor, pulls me in a quiet room. They always say farewell before you leave. He shakes my hand. He's like, Mr. Abreu, listen, man, you have a life full of potential. You're a great guy. You have a son. It would really hurt me, to see you come back a third time. I shook this guy's hand, Mr. Mendoza. I owe a lot to him, And I looked at him in his eyes and I said, oh, no, you will see me a third time, believe me. But it's going to be on the other side. I have hopes to be able to come back one day and share my story to give hopes, to these incarcerated individuals and let them know that there's a whole world filled with endless opportunities waiting for them out there, and that they don't have to necessarily go back and resort to the same shit they were doing before. They could come out here, make it count, and stay home and be a law-abiding citizen, man. That's what it's about. I
want to tell the audience, too, if they're unaware, you're still on parole.
Yeah, I am.
When do you get off papers?
I get off papers November.
So you got, 9, 10 months, 9 months. And let that be a lesson to the fact that you don't got to wait till it's over. You just got to get moving in the right direction right now. And for anybody who's got that chip on their shoulder and the parole officer's out to get them, your thought process is going to bury you quicker than a parole officer. You're going to give them a reason to bury you. Mm-hmm. You're giving them every reason to support you. How often do you check in right now? What's that process like for you?
I mean, right now, Sean, I've even posted videos on it. Parole is the easiest it's ever been. People have this misconception like, oh, parole is a setup. They out to get you. I mean, granted, that was the case before. Like, if you weren't home, whatever, if you tested positive for marijuana or something, you was getting violated. They not even on that type of time, Sean. It's simple. I try to tell guys out there, motivate them, look, do what you have to do now so you could do what you want to do later. So I'm reporting every 4 months to answer your question. I just went like 2 weeks ago. I don't got to go back, Sean, to like June, July, I believe. After that, I'll probably go back another 4 months, August, and then I'll be done in November.
You said something that I didn't even realize till right now, which is marijuana. How many people got locked up again for fucking dirty piss for smoking weed? Crazy. And now that it's legal, I bet you the numbers are lower. Because of just that fucking trivial fact that weed is legal.
Sean, for weed, they were sending dudes to do 6, 8, 10 months, whatever time you owe.
Spending another fucking 30 grand. The system is busted. And now I think it's swang so far to the left that people are kind of crazy too, because you see crazy shit online and then people come out the next day and you're like, what the fuck? How'd that dude get out? Mm-hmm. So I think it was so messed up for so long that now it's so... It swang so far to the left. And I think there's going to be a medium that it finds somewhere with a little more sensibility. But that's going to take time because for generations, people were railroaded. Yeah. And now, maybe because I'm up in the suburbs and I'm living a different life, it seems a little skewed in the wrong direction. Like, it's too easy to get out. But at the same time, I know why. Because there were so many wrongs done that they're trying to right wrongs that were done for generations. And I think it'll find its way back to a place where it's more fair, more even. And I think just the marijuana being legal and not being a means to trigger you to go back to jail is a statement of, okay, it's getting more sensible and it's getting less likely for you to just go back for something stupid. Yeah. Not to mention the financial burden that it's putting on, taxpayers, or the fact that you're fucking taking people away from their kids and their ability to earn for their families and be fathers and mentors because they smoke some fucking weed, which we know a lot more people do than was previously thought to.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's $1 billion business here in the state alone.
And one thing, that I do want to highlight real quick that you mentioned, Sean, that's extremely important, and that's an advice that I'm going to give anyone out there coming home, whatever vision, whatever you say you're going to do, come out here, apply yourself, and just start. And if you're going to be faced with adversities, things is not always going to go your way. But if you're committed to something, you can't give up. You got to keep going. And something, first time I'm even sharing what I'm going to tell you now, I started my whole page, my movement, while I was still on work release in the halfway house. And can you believe Sean, that I had posted a video, with a prison bus where I'm detailing, what is the experience to be on a prison bus. I'm saying how degrading, how disrespectful it is, how dehumanizing. I threw it up on TikTok, over 100,000 views. It went viral. So one day I'm going back to the work release facility. They will let me sleep. As long as I was working, which I wasn't, giving them my check, they will let me stay home, Sean, 5 days on furlough to be with my family, and I had to come back and report. Well, one day, March 1st, 2023, I come back, I get greeted at the front desk by one of the officers, the sergeant. They like, you got to put everything in your locker. You're not going back out today. I'm like, why? Here we go again, Sean. My heart drop. I'm like, what I do now? I'm doing everything right, man. I'm working. I'm abiding by all the laws of the program, I ain't got no tickets, no disciplinary infractions. What's going on? Officer tells me, as he's searching me, he's like, nah, it has to do with a video you posted. So I'm like, really? The next day I see the sergeant. They had me locked up in the work release program. They didn't let me come out for 3.5 weeks, Sean, which I almost lost my job. Thank God where I was working at was a good friend of mine who was understanding, and also someone who had been through a similar situation, who had been through the system.
Right.
They put me on what was called, Sean, a hold, because they said that I wasn't allowed to be posting videos of that nature while I was still in the program. Their exact words is like, even though you get to go out and work and do certain things, you're still not a regular person like them out there.
Right.
And I felt discouraged. I was about to quit because I'm like, how is it that I'm doing something right and positive for the first time and this is coming to bite me in the ass? My girl, my cousin, good friend of mine, few people are like, you can't give up. This is your calling. This is God telling you that this is going to be something big, something major. And I never gave up, man. Here I am. I'm getting ready to launch that podcast myself, which I hope to have you as well there,
Absolutely. Yeah, man. The devil's always going to show up when you're trying to do something that's in line with your purpose. So the world, the universe, the devil is testing you.
Yes.
To see whether or not you really got what it takes. And that just happened to come in the form of this sergeant who was freestyling, I'm guessing, because I highly doubt that shit is on paper, that you can't be posting videos of that nature.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They felt a certain way about it, and they have control over you, so they took the liberty of scaring the shit out of you.
Of course.
Thank God they didn't cost you your job. Mm-hmm. And I just want to thank you again for being on this mission, for having the courage to express to people out there that the streets are not sexy, that crime is not sexy, the shit don't pay. Because there's this fucking myth. There's just this myth around being tough and being street. This shit don't pay. I don't know any fucking drug dealers outside of the creme de la creme that have ever owned anything, that have ever created anything other than maybe a vast drug empire, which inadvertently poisoned and destroyed their own community. So again, I understand that is what may be available to you, but the same skills that made you a good drug dealer can make you a good entrepreneur. The skill set is exactly the same. It's just misdirected. It's just that you don't have anybody around you to show you that those skills that you have can be put to use in a different way.
Absolutely.
So I can't wait to see how this develops. I want you to tell the audience where they can find you, and what you got in store in terms of the podcast.
Definitely. Well, thank you again, Sean, for having me on the show. Truly appreciate it. Right now, you can find me on IG, Instagram at Made Up North NYC. Also, in a very short time, I'm getting ready to launch my own podcast, Off the Count Podcast, along with my co-host Mike, who also has his own brand, Hustle with God. And, we doing this kind of collaboration. I'm focusing on my whole prison reform. He'll be on the show, discussing issues here and there about mental health and overcoming addiction and just overall overcoming adversity. So stay tuned for that, Off the Count Podcast. Stay tuned for the book. And going back to what you said, Sean, applying things that we know from before. One thing about me, I love hustling. I love the grind. It's just this type of feeling, right? But one thing I always tell myself is like, you don't gotta stop hustling. You just gotta change the product,
Right.
which is what I'm doing now. I'm also gonna be, going into the world of launching merch, Made Up North, anything that's, that's gonna serve as some type of empowerment for these guys coming home. That's what I'm about. So definitely look out for me on that, on my IG, on the podcast coming soon, and so much more to come, man. It's only the beginning. I'm glad we connected.
Yeah, man.
And
it's meant to be for sure. And the best is yet to come, as one of my mentors, Raul, says. The best is yet to come. I'm super excited. I'm glad and honored to give you the platform so that we could go out there and impact even just one life, because that's all it takes to start the ripple effect of change. And anything that you need, I already told you, you have me at your disposal. You got my number. You got access to whatever I've learned. We were sharing some stories about leveling up and the people around you. There's a great program called the 5 Ventures that I recently learned about, where they go back into prisons and teach them how to run a business from A to Z. And they actually have programs in New York. So I'm going to be doing that soon. Let's find out what the legalities of you going up north with me in a different sense than we've ever gone up before, to help some of these inmates that's still struggling. What's coming next?
Definitely, Sean. And the last bit of advice, though, that I want to give and offer to anyone that's coming out the system, I call it personally, the formula for success, and how I was able to come about this is through my own trials and tribulations, through actually reoffending. I was able to see the things I did and didn't do the first time versus the things I'm doing and not doing the second time. And ultimately, it comes down to 3 major components. When you come back out here, I strongly urge you to please stay focused, disciplined, and patient. People have asked me which one is the most important, and I say it all the time. All 3 of them. You need all 3 essentially to make that crossover, make that successful transition. If you come back out here and try to pick up where you left off and try to race, when you race, you know what happens? You end up crashing. So just stay focused, disciplined, and patient. And to the youth out there, don't believe what you see in social media. Don't believe what you see in your big homies, because guess what? Your big homies and these guys that you glorify, they'll put you in positions to do things that they're not ready to do themselves. So don't let no one trick you out your spot. And understand that if, God forbid, you end up going away, it's not about you. Because I also used to be the same and think that it was only about me. But behind every incarcerated person, there's a family member doing an unseen sentence. So please think about that and don't ever forget it. Because while you're in prison doing your time, as messed up as the situation could be, you got a bed, you don't got to worry about rent, and you're getting 3 meals a day, even if you can't make commissary. But for people out here, life goes on. Bills keep coming. So people out here, they feel it double. They got to stress and worry about yourself, and they got to worry about how they're going to make ends meet on their own. And I've never opened up about this. My mother, the last fondest memory that she has of me is a week before I did get incarcerated, which was the last time that she remembered me as her youngest son, because today my mother has dementia, which is something that progressed and got worse during my incarceration. And that's something that I'm still trying to learn how to forgive myself. So don't make it about yourself and don't be selfish, because it's not going to be you in the essence that's going to be suffering. It's going to be your loved ones. Follow Made Up North NYC. Thank you so much, Sean, for having me on the show, my brother.
Thank you. It's been a long time coming. I can't wait to see what's next.
I brought you a goodie bag.
Oh, shit. What we got?
Well, I brought you, a sweater, a hat, some wristband.
Right here.
Yeah.
I'm old school, though. I still be bending my shit, bro.
Yeah.
My street cred is dead.
Yeah. But definitely, man, you were right. I feel relieved, man.
Yeah. It's crazy how it is a burden of shame and guilt. And I think you just touched on it, which is we not only the ones that suffer, but we cause the people around us to suffer. And when we finally become mature enough and not as selfish, we start to realize that shit. And then that creates the pain and the guilt and the resentment. But let that shit go. And the only way to let it go is by telling your story and by giving it purpose and by giving it meaning. And you've had the courage and the wisdom to do that. And I'm glad that I could be the first step of you doing that, because it's only gonna get easier from here. Trust me, I know. I held my shit inside for 15, 16, maybe more years where nobody knew that I had been to prison. You know, my neighbors in my Lily White neighborhood, people at the gym. And what's crazy, once they found out, was they have more love for me.
Of course.
People that have no understanding of the streets because they only knew one version of me. So to hear that background story was like, wow. You know how hard this kid must have worked to get here?
Yeah.
Whereas they may have been born into that neighborhood or their parents left them a house or something like that. And that's not a knock on them. It's just a testament to your resilience. So I can't wait to your neighbors, baby, because I know you're coming out east of this part of the island.
We definitely looking forward to having you on that Off the Count podcast.
I can't wait. I'm going to help you get that started ASAP too. Thank you all for tuning in to the Real Mentors podcast. Thank you to Jason for having the courage to share his story. We hope that, as always, we've impacted just one of our listeners. Feel free to share. Click the links below. We're going to have all Jason's information. And make sure to tune in to Made Up North NYC on Instagram. He's always dropping gems. He's always giving you the resources that are available to you as formerly incarcerated individuals or people still on parole that are going to help you strengthen your resolve, move your life forward, and leave that story in the past and create a whole new chapter for yourselves. As always, let's get it, baby.